All right, everybody, how are you? Bob is back with a rare Wednesday night interview with a man I've been chasing around to get an interview for better part of 8 months, I would say. So, without any further ado, the man is responsible for the Badminton Road Show, and here we go live. All right, welcome up, Lee Sipes. Lee Sipes, everybody. Hey, brother, how are you?
Hey, good.
Good. Sorry about that. Great intro.
No problem.
Fucking
See if my dogs start barking.
no, I rent a couple rooms out, and nobody ever comes in through this door. And she came in through this door. So there we go. So how are you, bros? It's good
Good,
to
man.
meet you.
Yeah,
I
you too.
I came in search of you through recognition or through recommendation from our man Chrome from the Lost Gypsies,
Yep,
who I thought was a really cool guy,
yep,
and he's big in the motorcycle community and the scene and all that stuff.
yep.
And of course, he told me one thing, and I heard it a different way. So he told me that you built bikes, but you do build bikes.
Yeah, I mess around with my own bikes and
You
stuff.
build your own.
I built a few bikes, couple customs. I like custom bikes a lot. It's kind of where what I play around with. A lot of
Well,
old stuff.
back to the basics. When did you decide, and, like the rest of the kids, just started monkeying with your pedal bike, and then when you seen a dirt bike, and went from there?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my grandpa had a garage full of bikes when I was growing up. So I go to my grandparents' house all the time and see them. My dad had bikes early on, but he kind of sold them when I came around, and then he got bikes later on again in life. But he didn't. My dad didn't have them when I was growing up. But it goes back in my family. Great grandfather as well. He had Harleys, and my grandfather, he rode Indians and Harleys and stuff. So it's fourth generation now.
Oh, that's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
There's not too many people here of that. It's a generational passion, man. That's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
One of my buddies in high school, his grandpa lived down in Otterville, and he was like an old guy when we were in high school. So we went out there one time, and he had a whole drive building, front to back, full of like wartime Harleys
Yep.
and Harleys that were German made, and some of that were not Harleys German made, but wartime motorcycles from the Second World War,
Yep.
and Russian ones too. Yeah, man, what a cool collection.
Yeah. Very cool.
And his uncle was in a wreck. I think he got paralyzed from chest down, so he still had his shoulders and his arms. So they built him in place of the sidecar. They put a ramp for his wheelchair, and he rode from over there.
Cool.
So at least he kept on the road.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That's the main thing, right? I really one day got to do a show about that, about because you see some people, it was they really loved it because they hit an adversity like that. They still find a way to get in the wind, right?
Yep, it's true. Yeah, a buddy of mine, Bob, he said recently, he goes, "There's two kinds of guys: the guys that like to ride and the guys that need to ride." And
Right.
after his bad accident, he realized he was one of the guys that needed to ride.
You're right, exactly. And I sold my bike last year at the beginning of the season, and yeah, I think I'm one of them guys that kind of needs to ride.
Yeah,
Hey, Sports Brand, thanks for coming on tonight, bro. And he gives a shout out to you, Lee.
yeah, right on.
So, so guys, good evening, War Gorilla. Good to see you, bro, from Las Vegas. War Gorilla joins us, man. He's an old clubber from down there from way gone by.
Cool.
So I'm happy to have you with us, War Gorilla. And he comes in. We kind of got a little biker news community thing going.
Yep.
With me and some guys in the States who got YouTube channels. And obviously they got more population, they got bigger channels,
Yeah.
but they're helping me along the way, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
We're doing it like a family, like brothers. And if he's got a hint to tell me when I post something on YouTube, he says, "Oh, you can do this and get more clicks." Eh? Oh, I've been doing this for a year. I didn't know that, so I changed something and shit like that, right?
Yep.
I still got to figure out the art side of it, the thumbnails that grab your attention and all that sort of stuff. And I still got to find a way to keep it interesting because I'm trying to stay out of the mud with my stories. I want to show all the good shit that bikers do. So, you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
and there's so many of these riding clubs, and even just people like yourself just decided one day to put on a show, and yeah. So why don't we talk about the show? I'm gonna bring it up on screen too,
Sure.
if you want. So so this is the show that Lee puts on. It's a Anyways, I'll let you describe it, bro.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, so my show is called the Bad Living Road Show. It kicked off last summer, um, and we run it out of a place in Durham, Ontario, called the Frontier Ghost Town. And it's kind of it's built back in the 70s. It's kind of a Wild West ghost town motif. There's a saloon. There's some like bunky cabins you can rent out. It's a really cool backdrop for the kind of stuff, kind of that Wild West feel. But it's got some acreage, and we put on a big show. So I loaded all full of vendors and food trucks and some of the coolest kind of custom and vintage bikes in Canada. And I get a lot of Americans that come up and roll out for that, and then they camp out. And then I pack a whole pile of bands in there. A lot of punk rock, metal, that kind of stuff, stuff that I'm into, and just throw a big bash, and people have a great time.
I love it. Now, so you camp out too. So what? I know there's always a charity aspect. Which charity did you help out last season with it?
Well, we work with last year we didn't really partner with any one charity.
Mm-hmm.
I do some bike nights and stuff that I've done some stuff with some charities locally, some different homeless charities and things like that. With this
Yeah.
show, I haven't really allied with a charity. This next year, in 2025, we're Fallen Riders is coming in. We're partnering with them, so they're going to do some charity aspect stuff through the show.
Very cool.
And yeah, we're going to kind of move forward with that.
Those guys jumped right into the motorcycle scene, didn't they?
Yeah, Fallen Riders. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
those guys have been around for a long time. They're connected to lots of shows and stuff. I've worked with them in some other capacities and some other events that I've been a part of, but this is going to be their first year kind of coming and being a part of my show. So that'll be good to have them out.
That's good. That's good. And I think you got lots of vendors and different people selling food around and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bring out a bunch of food trucks, and we had 40, 50 vendors out there, and I had 18 bands last year. We do a big rager.
So the person can decide themselves if they want to make it a day trip or a weekend.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you can come out for just the Saturday. Camping, I include camping in all in the fees for the ticket. So if you choose to stay or not, because a lot of people come and they have such a good time, they end up getting stranded there. So
Yeah.
I just leave it as part of the ticket, and then you know what you're getting into. And
Yeah. Bring your tent. Just throw that tent in your bike. Just
Exactly.
Why not?
Yeah, we
I
do
dig all these.
we usually do a custom bike build too, and we'll give that away just as part of the show. So just for showing up, you could win a bike.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, so this bike that's on the screen right now, that was actually the bike we built last year and gave away.
This one here?
Yeah, the 67 Triumph.
Very cool. Hi Lee, thanks for joining us, bro. Appreciate seeing you. I was just watching the videos on the other monitor. Yeah, it sounds like a good time, doesn't it, War?
Yeah.
I got to go to these. So last year I started, and I stayed home and pout because I sold my bike. But this year, even if I can't get myself on two wheels, I'm just gonna have to fucking go to these events in my cage.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
And a lot of people do that. It's fun to ride in and stuff like that, but it's just as fun just being around the stuff. Because you ride in, you park your bike anyway, you walk around.
Right.
You still walk around, you can still enjoy it.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, if you got a car, if your legs get tired, you can go do whatever. But yeah, but you see, and I've ridden up from where I'm in London. I've ridden up to Ghost Town for, I don't know, it was a club ride for some event at some time, and we all rode up. It was a fun ride. It's a nice ride up there. It's a nice part of the province. There's nothing wrong with the ride. It's not too long from where I think it was a couple hours, few hours maybe.
Yep.
Because we had to hook up with the other chapters in Guelph and all that, and we headed north that way. So we might not have even went the fast way. So what's this for? Is this to become a vendor?
Yeah, so this is some of our stuff from last year. Just
Yeah, I thought this was last year's stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's last year's stuff. So it has our invited builder list. Those are all the bike builders that brought bikes and displayed in our showcase, and then a bunch of our vendors and sponsors there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Did you know that old builder in London? He passed a few months ago, Billy Barr.
I know the name.
Yeah, he was an old
Yeah,
timer. He was
yeah,
another one of them that had, if you're looking for Ironhead Sportster parts, he had them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Those
yeah,
kind of dudes. Yeah.
yeah.
I like the vibe up there. I don't see. Well, I guess it's the shape I was in, or maybe my memory doesn't like those days anymore. I don't remember all this place being all done up like that. It looks pretty cool.
Well,
Was that
that spot there. That's the bike builder from last year. Actually, Adam King. So he's got a place called Black Horse Cycle is his shop, but he's got a hotel in Sauble Beach, and that's his hotel there. So it's
oh,
we had some staging stuff there. That's just a post. That's just a post from him, I think,
I'm
for
with you. I'm with you.
promotional post. Yeah, in Sauble Beach there.
I think they used to do the ride for sight up there to that ghost town frontier village, didn't they?
Well, years ago they had an abate party out there,
Hmm.
and then abate moved, and they have a different property now.
Okay.
I don't know when that ended. I've seen pictures from the early 2000s, 20 years ago, probably. I think was probably around the last time. Um, but I wasn't around up there back then, but I think that was around the last time. And then they got a new property, and then we did another show on that property for the last. Well, we did 6 shows over kind of 10 years with a few years off during kind of the COVID years there, and
Yeah. Weird times.
yeah, I worked for another show on that property, and then when that show ended, I started up with a new name and kind of rejigged everything to do it the way that I want to do it, and you know,
So
made
is
my,
it
made my,
yours alone? You got partners?
no, it's just me that does this. I got tons of friends that help me out, obviously.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
lots of relationships in the bike industry and stuff like that. So that's how I do it. But as far as the organizational aspect, it's just me rocking and rolling. So
So that's a lot of time and effort goes into any sort of big show like
yeah,
that.
for sure, man. It's a ton
Yeah,
of it's a ton of effort.
yeah. We had a chapter in England and they did a weekend event similar to yours, camping, big name bands, blah, 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 weekend event.
Yep.
And that was that chapter's employment
Yep.
for the next year. So
Yep.
it was 6 or 8 guys. They each had their thing that they did. One was food, one was entertainment. There was rave tents. I went this summer. I was there. It was cool, man. Cool as hell. Rave tents and little tents serving beer there, and another one over there serving beer and food over there. It was really well done, man. And that's what they did. They made at the gate, bro. The year I was there, over £1,000,000.
Yeah, that's a good show.
That's insane, eh?
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm not gonna hold my breath though.
It'd be just hitting that nail on the head, right?
Yeah.
Because I used to say that to my buddies all the time. Guys, we got to do a motorcycle show. These guys in England hit it big, man. And for a while, I was up by Sault Ste. Marie. And I believe that there's an abandoned um, Air Force landing strip up by the Sioux.
Okay.
So I was thinking, that'd be kick ass to do the flag drop drag races, man. All
Yep.
weekend.
Yep.
Because there's a couple of ways I guess you got to think about danger and whether kids are there, etc. Right?
Yeah, and insurance is brutal.
Insurance got to kick in the butt, eh?
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm glad that you're still doing it, man. That's the main part.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I my whole thing is, I want to bring as many people together in this stuff as I can. My shows are always they're pretty accessible. They're not club shows. We get lots of clubs that come, but it's never been about attracting clubs specifically. We get lots of people, get lots of types of different people. If people bring their kids and stuff, and old guys. We get a ton of young guys coming out, which is cool. Now, I would say probably of the shows that I go to, I would say my show is on average, one of the younger shows kind of going on right now,
That's cool.
which is cool to see.
Yeah, man.
It's funny because it's the youngest attendance and the oldest bikes, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny.
Well, maybe that's actually a good sign because I fell into that thought process that everyone's been saying, especially when you're here in the States, that there's a generation of people that skipped Harleys. They bought a Jap bike and they just stayed with the Jap bike, which is fair beans. They're in the wind. I don't care what you're riding personally. I only know how to ride Harleys. That's the only thing I ever learned on, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm allergic to I'm allergic to anything that's not a Harley.
But shit, man, when I was in England, I saw them guys. They'd rip apart a Japanese bike and they'd stretch the forks and they'd put it on a hardtail frame, and those things look pretty badass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. You can make them. You can make lots of stuff cool. You know what? Like I appreciate everything. I appreciate the effort. People have made some. I've seen guys take like Yamaha XS650s, CB750s, all that stuff, and they make some of the nicest bikes you ever see. It's
Yeah,
just I totally appreciate it. I
it's
just
personal preference on what.
yeah,
Actually,
it's just a
right?
preference thing,
That's all. That's the way I see it. What I actually am going to spend my money on, I know that the serial number is going to start with a 1HD.
Yeah.
That's just my preference. That's all. And unfortunately, that my life's kind of always in flux. I can't really fall in love with a motorcycle right now. So if I buy one and something goes south, then maybe I gotta get rid of it again.
Yeah.
It's always the last option, but if it happens, it happens. And this
Yeah.
year I'm thinking because the prices seem to be down a bit. Even if I get myself on to find another old Evo, I didn't mind my Evos.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I've had a couple of nice. I've had a lot of bikes. I got 5, I guess, right now.
Well, how do you got such a big name in the biking world?
Well, I've been around a long time.
Hmm?
Started working on bike shops when I was 16. Um,
Oh,
I
so you
did,
came through the shops.
yeah, I worked for a shop out of Listowel when I was in high school.
Hmm.
Started as a co-op, and I've just been hanging around a long time, man. I worked for Harley for a short time in 2013, and I worked for a couple other small shops, and I've just been around. I worked the swap meets. I've done lots of marketing stuff, business stuff on that side, and then with the last show that I worked for, I developed a lot of industry contacts through that. Doing I've vended at some of the big shows, Super Show and things like that. I'm there every year. I'm usually the biggest booth in Hall 5 every year. So
Were you there?
yep.
Oh, I was there. I didn't even know you were up there.
If you're in Hall 5 and you saw the big 12-foot skeleton, that was me.
Oh, for God's sake! Isn't that wild? I must have missed. Is
Yeah.
that where the bikes were kind of loose
Yep.
at the back there?
Yep. I had the whole one side there. That was all me.
Unbelievable! I didn't even stop over and say hi. I was there kind of at the end of my day there.
Yep.
That's the fallen riders were there down the one side.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Had some loose bikes, cool bikes in the middle.
Yeah,
I think what happened was I heard those mini bikes fire up, and I wanted to watch what they were doing.
oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Then I split back to the Hall 4. Are
Yeah.
you
The
going to this?
one
Are
wheel
you going
drive.
to this one in February?
I might do a wander through. I'm not going to set up probably. I've set up at it before. I think it's changed hands now, so I'm going to kind of scout it out and see what it's looking like. Doing the two shows so close to each other, it maybe is good and maybe not. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, yeah,
And at these shows, I bring out some of my own bikes, but I bring out a lot of my friends' bikes too. So it's a big effort to kind of rally everybody, and to do one in January and then do one the next month.
yeah,
January is always going to be bigger, so I kind of focus on that one.
yeah, yeah. So you've thought that all through.
Yeah.
Well, you've lived it enough times, like you say. So, and you've done the swap meet part of it. And I know when I was getting introduced into riding motorcycles and being a biker, etc. The guy that was inevitably like the guy that showed me everything. He liked to build motorcycles.
Yep.
So he would take me to the swap meets and shit. I didn't know really what we were doing or what we were looking at. But then you start to know what this is and what that is, and
Yeah, that's it, man.
geez, if you hit the button, it doesn't do that. Look at this, and it's good to know it there on the side of the road in the middle of the
Yeah,
night.
yeah, it's different. It's a different way to look at the bike when you kind of understand the pieces, rather than just going out and buying something and riding around, which is nothing wrong with that.
Right, right.
But for me, when I was younger, even my first Harley was an '04 Road King that was a full custom bike, and it was a great bike. But when I sold that bike, I got a Softail, and then I started messing around with these, starting with a frame and kind of working my way up and doing some stuff. And I got my Panhead, and I started messing around with old bikes. And then through that's when I really started hitting swap meets a lot, and you start learning about the stuff, and then that's kind of what draws you in even deeper to the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to these things and you start, it's not just I mean, it's to some point, I've definitely collected too much at certain parts of my life. I don't know, like, but it's part of it, right? It's kind of the pursuit is where a lot of the enjoyment comes from.
So what's your area? Up around Listowel, north of Guelph, around there?
I'm a Kitchener guy, actually.
Oh, you're a Kitchener. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about my friend Dave, and he's like that. He's got walls and walls with just frames hanging off of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's a handy guy to know. If you got an older bike and you break something, he'll have one of it.
Yep.
So and he'll explain to you how they work. You know what he's doing now? He's putting superchargers on these Dynas.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's when you've done everything. You know what I mean? What do you think? You'll go like supercharger. So that's how you got known around that. Not just from, because that's basically been your life, right? You just jumped into the motorcycle community, and
man, I just really like the stuff. I've been around a long time. I'm an outgoing guy. I'm a big dude. People see me, they recognize me and stuff like that. So you hang around long enough, you start meeting friends and stuff, and you build a reputation, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah, man.
You build a good reputation, and you make some friends as time moves on, and it just becomes your life. And that's kind of where I'm at now,
That's really cool. That's really cool. It's cool when you can get there where you can make what you love and make it work financially for you, right? To build the nuts covered every month. Then that's when you hit it. Good for you, man. And it's kind of funny because the motorcycle community is like that, right? If the people like you, and like you say, you're a straightforward, no bullshit guy, that's all they want out of anybody.
Yep.
And you got good ideas and you communicate well, they will take you in.
Yep, that's it, man.
And then they will listen to your ideas.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you got to beat your chest for a while. Sometimes it takes time, like anything. You got to kick the door down. But I mean, over time, I'm not cold calling people anymore. More people come and talk to me. It's a smoother transition now to kind of get people to come and support the show, because they know what it is, they've seen it. I'm not trying to sell an idea anymore, so that's a nice thing. And they know I'm about it too. They know that when I attach my name to something, it's something that I really, it's something that I really care about, and I think that shows in what I do, right?
This guy pops in my comments on Snow Hopes. He goes, I'm still wondering how I ended up subscribing to this channel. I fraternize with bikers from Manitoba mainly. I had some clubs from Alberta. Or one bike shop from BC, because he caught my eye. And I don't mind helping out small businesses in the biker community with this channel. Not that I know if it helps anyone or not, but in my head I think it does. But so if the bike shop is also part of the biker community, then I'll bring him on. I'll invite him on for an interview. So this guy does the thing, and he shows and he gives a course on how to maintain your own bike.
That's cool.
I thought, fuck, man, that's cool enough to get him on over here and explain what he does.
Yep.
And then we sat and talked. He's got a mobile unit. It's got a lift inside. It's
Yep.
an old, I can't remember what kind of old truck it is, but it's so, and he's got all the toolboxes and shit, and he'll try to fix you on the side of the road. So you know what the hell? He was actually a fun interview. And then I had another guy, and this guy's really interesting, man. And it's a really heavy thing, and he took it on, and he's got the motorcycle hearse in Alberta,
Okay.
and he gives everyone their last ride, man. And
Yeah.
that's a pretty heavy. It's a heavy thing to take on, right?
Yep. Yep.
And he does it just like any other level-headed biker would do it. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
you and I are talking. He doesn't beat his chest. He doesn't stand in the corner and weep, or he just does what he needs to do and make sure that guy gets to the church and gets to the grave site and all that stuff, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, the other thing I was, the other thing that kind of connected me to a lot of the stuff. The one thing I was doing for a while, I haven't done it maybe in a bit now. I used to do some writing, and I was writing for a little bit for Revolution magazine out of Quebec there when Pascal still had it,
okay.
and they featured my bike on the cover and some other stuff. I had a few bikes in that magazine over the years, so that was kind of a cool thing. So I met a lot of people through that too. That magazine's kind of folded now, which is too bad. Pascal got sick for a bit there, and he sold the magazine, and he's doing good now, which is great.
He got out of it good.
But he got out of it, but he sold it to a guy, and then the guy seemed to kind of he fumbled it pretty bad, and it disappeared, which is too bad. It was a really good magazine.
Wasn't there a guy from the East Coast who was doing a little magazine as well? And I think he would ride across Canada and do pictures and a story from each stop or whatever
Yeah.
he did. I can't remember his name. He's friends of a friend of mine.
Yeah, magazines are a tough one. Very
Yeah.
tough one. Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, I like that stuff a lot, like the print media thing. The internet's great, but a lot of maybe not the real young guys anymore, but my generation and the generations that came before, we hoarded magazines for ideas and to see all these bikes and stuff like that. Like, I got stacks and stacks of magazines, and my own and the old bike builder Bob McKay. He was a friend of mine when he was still alive, and after he passed, the guy that kind of inherited all his stuff, I got past all his magazine collection, so I got all his magazines too, kicking around my house. I have piles of the stuff, but I mean, I go through that stuff all the time, and it's awesome because it's everything's been done in every possible configuration you could imagine. So it's cool to go back and see because we've forgotten more than we remember at this point.
And bring something that hasn't been done for a while back to life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually really good thinking, because that was back in the days when Easy Riders were cool.
Yep.
They actually had stuff in it that was motorcycle related.
Yep.
Not that the pictures of girls' asses weren't good, but
but they had the best bikes, man. Like they had the coolest bikes. They had the crazy stuff. So.
And then David Mann doing all that artwork. I used to look forward to looking at what was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back in the day, eh?
Yep.
And that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Now I do a bit of work with Choppers Magazine. Now they sponsor my show out of California. Kerry Brobeck, he owns that magazine now, and it's a good magazine. Like, we don't really have a lot here in Canada right now. At least that I'm aware of. I might be speaking out of turn. Maybe there's some stuff, but in Ontario, I couldn't name a magazine. No. I don't know if there's anything out west, maybe something going on, but I mean, like, it's pretty slim.
Then again, I can't say I've ever looked.
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to keep my ear to the ground, but a lot of the stuff that I get's all American,
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see. I've thought about kind of kicking something off that, but again, that's a big project, and print media is tough.
Yeah.
So it's doable, but it's going to be a labor of love. You're never really going to make too much money at it because it's just not a profitable thing anymore.
Right.
But it's still important, I think.
Yeah, and you're saying because social media is not much better. So the lane I chose for this is show the good stuff the bikers do, and
Yeah.
people are interested in it, but not as much as they're interested in hearing about a shootout at the OK Corral, right? And
Yeah,
I
I
don't want to
mean,
keep perpetuating the negative story.
well, and the other thing too is with the with the online stuff, it's just kind of it's like white noise. There's so much information all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to, you see something and it's gone. It's just kind of out of your mind.
Thank you, retired. See, and that's what I was hoping that I would get out of this. He said this is relaxing, easygoing, super cool conversation. More people should subscribe to this type of conversation. Thanks, bro. That's what I'm kind of shooting for. We shoot the breeze and get to know each other because Lee and I have never met. We meet for 10 minutes before we go live and then we go for it. And I think that kind of makes it more genuine, I guess,
Yep.
you know? But if you've been around the scene that long, then you've seen, you with your own eyes all the different stuff that bikers will do with their, and there's charities and there's anti-bullying and they help kids, child abuse victims,
Yep.
and you look around at something traumatic and you look around the corner and there's a biker there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the community as a whole, not just the clubs, but a lot of the people. It's a community of kind of an individual hobby, but everybody kind of bands together. You know, and a
Yeah,
lot of different types of people, a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different upbringings, but everybody kind of bands together, and that's what I always really liked about the community is that you kind of have this common interest and you bring everybody together, and that's enough.
yeah.
You know.
You know where you see the biggest example of that is when you go to Port Dover and you'll see an old farmer looking at a beautiful street glide and a guy in his 30s looking at the exact same street glide or whatever,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you know that old farmer's got a motorcycle in his shed.
Yeah, probably a good one too.
Usually they do. Or you get the lawyers who got all those brand new bikes and they're parked in the garage. But that's great because eventually they get bored of them and they release them into the wild again.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And what the hell? I knew guys when I was in Toronto because I hung out with all these fairly wealthy guys, and the garage would have some stupid car up on a lift and some CVO special number bike in the back corner, and they bought them as investments.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, one of my good buddies, he just bought. Actually, I bought his Street Glide last year, and it's all done up. He dumped a ton of money into that thing. So it's got the big motor, it's got a 120 in it, it's got the Baker in it, it's got all the performance stuff, it's got all the go fast parts, it's got all the billet stuff. It's just it's ready to rock. So it's nice because I don't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah,
I can
how's it
just
go?
I can just get on it and break the law. But
Yeah,
he got one of those brand new CVOs, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I don't for him. I don't know if it's an investment thing because the guy rides his stuff. No, that thing isn't going to be parked ever. That thing will have probably the most mileage on it out of anybody. But
I still can't believe how fast they make those CVOs go.
yeah, they're pretty quick.
Because the bike that I let go of there when I bought it, the guy had already done most of the bells and whistles. He had tuned it. He put headers on it and true dual exhaust on it. So it had some intake work too. So it went pretty good. I could do a burnout or whatever I wanted with it, but I couldn't keep up to a CVO when he cranked it.
Yeah, I mean my Street Glide now. I mean it'll keep up.
Yeah,
It'll keep up. Yeah, yeah. But it's got all the goodies.
you did all the stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff, man. Yeah, all the stuff.
Well, that's
It's got the race clutch and tune. It's got the 120. It's got the Baker 6. It's got the HPI pipe. It's got the big throttle bodies. It's got everything. It's ready to
nice.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got to change how my work's going because I got to get another something under myself. And a couple guys I know, they got some. What they got? Knuckleheads or panheads for 20 grand. up around London way. If a friend of yours is ever looking, they're already done. They're already back to original, I guess. I think they're red. How come they're always red? Them old Harleys.
I already paint some red for some reason.
Because I bet you Harley never released them red, did they?
No, they had red. They had red bikes.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yep.
Well, I guess if these guys are putting them back to original, then the color of it's pretty important. So
Yeah, depending on the year.
yeah. So those ones weren't the war bikes. See, and I embarrass myself sometimes. I'm not that versed in old Harleys.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, I went around. They're interesting. They're cool to look at. I've never had the opportunity to ride one.
Well, if they had knuckleheads for 20 grand, I'd be ending this conversation and driving there right now.
Oh, so it must be a pan.
20 grand for pans aren't bad either. It depends on what they are.
Let's find them.
Yeah, the prices have gone up in the last couple of years. It's getting harder to find the deals, but that's why it's hard to sell stuff. I just want to hold on to everything.
What are these tariffs gonna do? Are they gonna are they gonna? Oh yeah, they put them on pause, didn't they? They're not even a thing now. See, everyone got all excited about these tariffs, and then he backs off.
I mean, that was kind of what I figured was going to happen. That's the old trick.
It reminds me of when we used to go into a bar and the bar gets smashed up, and then you say, "Hey, if you don't want this to happen, I'll be back at the end of the
week." Negotiation tactics.
Yeah, the old days, eh? I can't find his post now. I'm doing a death scroll through his shit. Doesn't have one of these, does he? He's got a 1970 XR 750 flat tracker sold
That's
with
cool.
title.
Yeah, that's cool.
Only 300 produced.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, he's done some neat shit down there, this fella. I gotta get along, but he's kind of, he's not into talking about what he knows.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what you had said to me the one time that I contacted you was, I'm really nobody special, but it's like, yeah, but that's cool. I don't want nobody special. I'm nobody special.
Man, it's just, I'm just I'm not trying to be some big name. I just like bikes. I just try to show people that I like the shit and get more people into it.
Right, and I think that's kind of the angle that I was thinking along is get people into it. You said you see lots of younger attendees at your show, which I find is fantastic, and I guess it's not really on us to keep younger people interested because they'll be interested in whatever they're interested in, right? But no, it's good to see. What are your thoughts on how to keep younger people buying Harleys and riding? They don't even got to go the club route. Just ride.
Well, I think there's the young people that I see that are getting into it. They're just there's kind of the generation that's leaving now. They've kind of lived their time, and I wrote a thing recently. Actually, I stuck it on Facebook. Just kind of, I used to do these blog style essay posts.
Oh, I think I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, I think you might have read it. But I just kind of talked about how there's a generation that's kind of they're kind of at the end of their of their cycle with the whole stuff, and there's a kind of an attitude that it's dying with them, but they weren't the originators before, and they won't be the end of it after. And the next generation is coming up, and it's about age range too, and it's also about money. When you're 16, you don't got Harley money. I didn't have Harley money at 16, and the stuff's more expensive now. So
money. Yeah, you're hitting your 30s before you get Harley money.
Well, that's what I mean. So you start moving your way up, and then you start getting stuff like Like man, like I scrape pennies. I was going to college when I bought my Panhead. I used my student loan to buy my Panhead. You know, I didn't buy textbooks and I bought a Panhead for Mississauga. So
That'd
I
be
mean,
cool
it's just
though, man.
you just do what you got to do. But it's you know it's
See, back then it was doing what you got to do, but now you wish like how you still had that pan.
I do still have it. It's in my garage right now. I ride it all the time.
Wow, you're a keeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you, bro. Yeah, man, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh.
So go ahead. What
No.
were you saying? I interrupted you.
Yeah, I think the younger generation, the more of them that come in, the more keep coming, right? Once they see that it's accessible, then more will start to come. That's kind of how everything is. You know, even when you get into building bikes, or when I got into old bikes, like I was into Harleys already, and I always
Mm,
wanted older bikes, but I didn't buy any because I didn't know anybody that was into them at the time. So it's intimidating because you kind of go into it blind. You go, well, you buy a couple of manuals, but we didn't have the internet like we have it now, where you could just YouTube and research everything on your own. If you didn't know
right, right.
anybody, you couldn't get a part. You didn't know what to ask for. And
Yeah,
then once I started to actually get some friends that were into the stuff, well, then it's a whole different ball game, because then it's all you get accepted by the community supports you, and then you're able to lean on that when you need stuff or when you need help or you have questions or whatever, right?
it'd be nice if we could get back into building our own, and they don't got to be super old because even the shovel heads have gone up pretty dramatically in
Yep.
price, right? But it doesn't got to be super old. But now when you take it to the insurance and it doesn't have a 1 HD at the front, then they want you to jump through a bunch of hoops and whistles. So it's even hard to get back into the building frame of mind.
Well, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, we do it all the time. We
Yeah.
do it all the
Oh,
time.
so,
Yeah,
so you got the system figured out. And
yeah, it's not bad. There's
help.
insurance companies that'll deal with vintage bikes. The VIN numbers. I mean, you have a good title, you build the bike, you get it safety. I mean, it is what it is. The new safety laws will probably throw some wrenches into stuff. You might have to throw a front fender and some other crap on it. But I mean, there's lots of laws. Pre 1972, you still don't have to have. There's things you don't have to have on your bike if it's before 1972. So
Right.
building older bikes, earlier Harleys, Panheads, up until 70 or 71. Can't remember what. I think it was 70. Um, you know, Everything's VIN to the motor, so you can take that motor and put it in any frame. You got a title, you got a whole
Yeah,
bike.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. The
So
motor number.
yeah. So and even after that, I mean, you can like we build hardtails mostly for the chopper stuff. You can hardtail those old frames really nice. Use the old castings. And my buddy Jason in Brampton, I mean, he does them every day. The nicest stuff you ever seen. It looks like right out of the factory. So
That'd be really cool. It'd be cool to know all that stuff, eh?
yep,
These guys I'm talking about in London, he's got one of those English wheels for curving metal,
yep,
and the one guy up there, for as long as I've known him, he's been paralyzed, and he rides out of his sidecar. So he walks on the canes things, right? And he makes sidecars. He bends them and he makes them right there in the shop.
yep.
It's pretty cool, man.
That's cool.
I'd love to get one for my dog. If you could get a quick detach one, I would love to take, my one dog would sit there and hang out with me all day. He's like that, right?
My dogs
He's,
would.
he's
They'd
not,
run off. They'd run after the first car they saw.
that's, yeah, he's an old timer, this guy. I can't find that old bike he had up here for sale, old Davy boy. And anyways, yeah, man.
Yeah, if you pull
I
up,
think that.
I was gonna say if you
Go
wanted to
ahead.
see my Panhead, if you pull up my page there, my main picture there, that's me and my
Your own page or the Bad Living page?
no my personal page,
Your personal page.
my profile picture there. That's a shot that my buddy Dan Lim did for Harley Davidson featured my show in their magazine there last summer, and that was the one of the featured photos for that article. They did like an 8-page spread in the Enthusiast magazine that Harley puts out, so that was pretty cool.
This one that you're leaning on?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think those are the same heads. I think those ones I'm telling you about, the red ones,
Yeah,
are those heads. I think so. Or the I know it's not the heads. It's the what is it? The cover
yeah,
at the top. Yeah,
yeah. Rocker covers.
rocker covers. That's a yeah, and you got to get the Springer on. How many of these bikes you think actually came out of the factory with Springers, or is that all that they built back then?
They did Springers until 40, 48, 49, somewhere in that range.
Okay,
Yeah, they had
and then
Springers on hard still, and then they went to the hydraulic front end. So
they
yeah,
figure hydraulic shocks, but the
yeah.
back end was still. Yeah, I've always wondered, do those springs under the seat helping at all?
Oh yeah,
No, they do, eh?
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
They
for sure.
absorb some of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can get pretty stiff springs, and it's actually not bad.
Well, that's cool to know.
Yeah,
Because I think every biker in the back of his mind has got a hardtail picture that he wants to build at some point, even if it's just to go down the driveway and across town and back in the garage.
yeah,
But you never know. You might like it. You might like that vibe.
yeah.
You just
I like riding mine a lot. I can't ride it as far as some of my other bikes, but I still really enjoy it. My back isn't, it can only take so much, but I'll still ride that thing around. I'm gonna try to put some more mileage on it this summer. Actually, got a couple things. I got a new front end for it, and a couple other things I'm gonna do. So
nice.
I want to, yeah, I'm gonna try to get on it a bit more this year.
Because it's got to be like a whole different sound out of the exhaust and everything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's a whole different experience. Because now I'm fumbling with the radio and fucking with my phone, and I barely even remember I'm riding half the time. It's not that smart, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
There's too many things up there going on.
Now you got to pay attention, man. You got drum brakes and you got a suicide clutch on it. Like you got to pay attention.
Yeah, you're back to riding.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. And then, like you say, I never even wrote anything nearly that old. But yeah, so how's the suicide clutch work?
Well, you got a foot clutch. And you shift
The
with your left.
pedal.
You shift with
Yeah.
your left hand, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So your left foot is the clutch and your hand is the
Yeah.
gear changer.
Yeah. You drop your hand down, kind of under your ass there, right off the transmission. You got like an actual shift lever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you just click it in the next gear and away you go.
You just slam it and go.
Now, which ones are those ones with the suicide shifter? What was that all about?
Well, I mean, that's what we put them on because that's the chopper way, right? So,
Oh,
early Harley, some of them had a tank shift, and then they went to the mousetrap, which was a hand clutch. But I mean, we just do those. We do those, the jockey. They put the ratchet top transmissions on them. We do the suicide clutch on it and just rock and roll.
and you just that's pretty cool. Well, no, you were telling me the list of bikes you got at your house. You got a pretty varied list. You're not stuck in one particular generation of
No,
motorcycles. It doesn't
no,
seem.
I'm kind of, I'd like to hoard the old stuff, but I like to ride different stuff, different tools for different jobs, right? That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
that's
Makes
kind of what I
sense.
would say. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, right now I got my pan. I'm putting together kind of a show bike, but it's a 91 FXRT. That's kind of a full build, but it's got some really, crazy rare stuff. And I got like a Spooth motor that's going into that, like full polished driveline. So it's going to be a pretty cool,
Oh,
unique bike that people are going to kind of.
it's gonna
I'm
be
hoping people
pretty.
will like that one. I have another pan shovel. It's like a big inch pan shovel I got. It's an old club bike from my area. Kind of came through a friend. His old man knew the guy originally. He had it for a long time. Then my buddy got it. I got it off him. Um, that's another one that I want to put together, but it's like a 104-inch pan shovel, so it's a big it's a big
Oh,
bike.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well,
And I got like a late '50s pan frame that was hardtailed for that, and some other stuff. It's got a Spooth 5-speed in it as well, so I'm going to run a Spooth 5-speed with the hand clutch in it rather than in kind of
what are Spooth? Are they a special transmission?
Spooth Allen Spooth. So it was a aftermarket company back in the day. Spooth made, so he was kind of a savant, like a bike savant, genius guy. He engineered a lot of products, high performance products for Harley.
Oh,
Back in the back probably back into the 70s, but I think this stuff is mostly 90s era stuff. But essentially, the transmission was it's a 4-speed transmission case, fits in a 4-speed frame, but it'll take a 5-speed gearbox, so you can drop in a more modern 5-speed gear set into a 4-speed case in the frame.
Kind of like what they did with the Bakers to go from a 5 to a 6-speed.
Yeah, he kind of predates all that stuff.
Right. See, there's always somebody before you.
Yeah, he was a real smart dude. Alan Spooth. You ever want to do some research on that guy? He's a really interesting guy to read about. He did some pretty smart stuff. And then I have another motor, a full motor off him. I think it's a 107-inch Evo.
Yeah.
It's got 60-degree heads on it. It's a fully polished motor. It was actually a motor that the guy that I bought it off of, it came out of an old West Coast chopper. And Jesse James had ordered that motor, I think, in the mid to late 90s, and then it was in a bike that he had built. And then the grandson of that guy pulled the motor, had it in an FXR, and then I bought it for my FXR.
So it's got some lineage.
Yeah.
Hi, Hook Dog. Thanks for coming tonight, bro. So tell me more about the FXRT. The FXRT is the one with the little fairing on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's got that that fairing on the front of it.
That fairing's kind of a cool looking fairing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's I'm kind of the bike's kind of like it's got like a red and gold kind of setup. I think that, I bought that I got that bike kind of on trade for I had a 59 Fairlane two-door that I was kind of farting around with, but I'm not much of a car guy. I was just kind of like enjoying it and whatever. And then a trade came up and I kind of got this bike through a trade deal with some other stuff. And it was supposed to be a running bike, but then it ended up being all apart. And the paintwork was done, which was good, but it needed everything else. So now I'm just kind of catching up. So I went right down to the frame, blasted, powder coated the frame, and just started working my way up. And now pretty much all that I have left is, basically I've used the tins in the frame, but pretty much everything else I've now swapped. So
did it come with the hard bags?
Yeah, it had the clamshell bags on it, but I got rid of them because they're garbage. They're trash bags. So they don't work good, and they were already like they looked okay and they were painted to match and stuff, but they were repaired and they're old, and I'm like, I'm gonna ride this thing. I don't want these bags falling off.
They fall off or fall apart. Yeah. Pain in the ass.
I'm gonna run it with no bags, and then I'll probably get a set of Leather Pros or something to throw on if I want to have bags on that bike.
I tell you, man, the first bike I ever owned, the first bike I ever bought, the first bike I ever did miles on was all an FXR Evo.
Yep.
And that baby never let me down.
Yep.
Never ever let me down.
Yeah, there's a lot of diehard FXR guys still.
Yeah, and then when they morphed into the Dyna, I'll say the same about a Dyna. I've owned at least one or two Dynas along my way, and they're the same. They don't let you down. They're easy to ride, right?
Yep.
They just don't feel like they weigh 1 million pounds when you need to do something in a fast hurry. Yeah, sometimes I drive like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's just the way I am. So you said that you host some weekly rides too. Where do you host them out of?
Well, I used to do a bike net called Two Wheel Tuesdays here in Kitchener.
Okay.
I did that for a couple of years. We get a pretty good attendance, get a couple hundred bikes sometimes, at our events. We got shut down kind of last year.
Was that the one at the beginning of the season? They told you couldn't use that restaurant anymore?
Yeah.
That's the one. I remember.
Yeah. So it's all good. There's no hard feelings or nothing. There was kind of some extenuating circumstances. We got some pressure, in town. The cops don't really like bikers getting together and too much. So they were kind of putting the pressure on it. It is what it is. I'm working on possibly restarting that. I haven't decided. It's a lot of work too. And with the show and everything, it's kind of a big thing. But I have been talking with some people about having another location, doing new ideas and stuff. So maybe we'll kick something off again.
And in the summer, what I'll do a weekly or a daily video. So on Tuesday I'll come on and tell you where all the weekly rides for Wednesday are going to be. Yeah. And then on Wednesday I'll tell you where all the weekly, and then on Friday tell you where all the different events and parties and poker runs and all that shit are going to be, right? Yeah. So in the summer I ramp it up a fair bit, and then because I really enjoy doing these interviews. For some reason, I really like it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that's cool.
So I'm a naturally curious guy. Get to ask some questions and shit like that, right? So I'm gonna try to keep them going as well, and just keep putting it out there. And I might, if I can get the info back in time, I think I'd like to have it ready for distribution by the end of April at the latest. Is it an old style wall calendar?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then if somebody wants to rent the flap or a quarter of it for an event that they're hosting, they can buy some advertising. And then in the days, I'll put in the weekly rides, the poker runs, and all the shit I can find.
Yep. Yep.
There's lots of it on Facebook. You get just you got to join every biker group on Facebook you can find,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's so that's kind of what direction I'm headed with this. And and yeah, see, I think Chrome was right. You're a good guy to talk to. I knew you would be. And, so when's the Bad Living show this year? When's the dates on it?
So the dates are going to be July 18th to the 20th. So Friday, the July 18th. Show up. It kicks off around 4 p.m. People get off work, they come out. I got bands that run all night. I usually do a pro wrestling show on Friday night as well.
Nice.
And they
So
come
you're
out.
right into it.
They come up and set up a ring, and we got bands and rock and roll. We party in the saloon. Saturday kicks off. It's the big show. So we have the big bike display, the modern display on the one side, and then the vintage display kind of in the front. All of our vendors, food trucks, et cetera, et cetera. All the bands, they run all day, and then we cap it off with a big bonfire and camping. So
And the bands just keep on playing.
yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. I'm definitely gonna make my way up there this year and check that one out. Like I said, whether it's two wheels or four, I feel that's one I got to go to. There's been a few that I've been talking to the people, and it's like, you know what, I'll just come up this year and we'll meet each other in person. And
Yep.
and you know, I don't drink much. I smoke weed, right? So we'll stand around, smoke some joints, and have the occasional beer and whatever, right?
Yep.
But I know what those weekends are like. You don't got no time to chill with nobody anyway.
No. I pretty much just I don't stop for about 4 days. I just keep moving. So
I'd be lucky if I could even find you to say hello, and I wouldn't bother anyone to do that. No, it's a big thing putting on a big show like that, and then you just kind of how come you decided you take it over?
well, I kind of when we did the last year of our other show, I didn't really have any intention. I was kind of done with the whole thing. I was just was just kind of gonna let it rest and just kind of move on, do something different.
Hmm?
And it was the first year back after 2 years off of during COVID.
Right,
So
which is the shittest year anyway.
yeah, so we kind of did one. We did one last one after COVID, and you know,
So that was the
it kinda,
shitty.
we never said it was the last one, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
And it was good. Like the attendance was good, everything was good about it, but
Oh,
it felt like the last one before we ever said nothing. It just there was just something kind of about it. But I remember standing there and kind of walking around, and it was really relaxed. I remember it actually was the most relaxed I ever felt. It didn't feel stressful. It didn't feel like we were running around. It just kind of, it just kind of happened.
it was
I remember
clicking.
I remember walking around, and I remember seeing all these people that I didn't recognize, which was odd because we did the show for so many years. You get all these people, you know all these people, you see them every year. And
Yeah.
then that one after COVID, I started to see all these kind of fresh faces, like a lot of fresh faces. And
It's a
I
good
kind of
thing.
it kind of popped into my head. I go, maybe it's not dead, maybe there's still some legs to this thing. And then, you know, I took a year off to kind of plan and get my bearings and figure everything out. And then when we kicked off last year, you know, it wasn't, in the scale of the previous show and everything, it wasn't the biggest year, but we were within a pretty small margin of the biggest year of the other show in our first year. And it was a huge amount of new people.
No.
And that's what was so awesome are people that, I'm walking around, we got 30 guys in from Ohio, and I got 25 guys in from New York, and we got all these guys I never met before. Yeah, we just saw your stuff. We thought we'd ride up. This is awesome. We'll be back. We want to come back.
Oh,
So
that's
it's just,
really cool.
yeah, so that kind of stuff, and then all the young kids. There's kids. There's a whole group of kids out of Cambridge. It makes me laugh. They're funny, man. But they all met each other at the old show. They all became friends there. They showed up. They didn't know what the heck was going on. They just started talking to each other because they were all around the same age. And now they started their own little club, and they're building all these cool custom bikes, and they're just rocking.
Wow, man, all from meeting at your show.
Yep.
I think that seeing and those are the kind of things about the biker community that unless you're part of the biker community, you wouldn't understand.
Exactly.
So they just it was all by happen chance,
Yep.
and they all have the same interest, and they're grooving.
Yep.
Nothing to it. That's the whole thing. There's nothing to it unless you make it. So there is something to. You know what I mean?
Yep. Exactly.
As I always used to tell people, it's not a problem unless you make it a problem.
That's it.
You know? Otherwise, you can figure shit out, or you should know enough people, or whatever, right? And,
Yeah, you get out what you put in, right? You got to put in the work, but if you put in the work,
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, somebody had mentioned to me that you were an airbrush guy. Or
No,
is that just for your own as well?
no, I don't paint.
No, you don't. None of that.
I don't paint.
None of that. Paint is an art within itself.
I wish I could, man, but that's not my bag, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, man. Like I say, I've seen some phenomenal paint jobs out there, and I think that's an art all within itself. And they keep changing. They keep changing the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they switched everything over to water base, pretty much everyone who was a painter had to reteach himself how to do it.
Yep.
The distances were different. The amount, the pressures. Yeah, I hung out with a guy who owned a body shop for a while there, so I kind of got in there, and he showed me all this different shit. But man, he can put a nice paint job. Half it comes down to the ending of it, the coat, the clear coats, and the buffing, the polish job. That's where half of the, if you get a deep black with a deep shine, you can see yourself in it.
Yep.
But most of that came down to the clear coats and then the buff job. Yeah. Interestingly enough.
Yep.
Yeah, man. All right, brother. Well, what are you saying? You got more stuff to tell us about the? I really like the sound of the bike show, man.
Yeah, man, it's a good time. Like it's, I mean, you gotta self promote. Shameless self promotion at some point, but
Do it.
I think I think we put on one of the best shows around these days.
How did you catch those guys' attention on the stateside?
I've been doing shows in the States for a bunch of years, traveling down there. A good friend of mine, Adam, he was, he used to race for the Race of Gentlemen out of New Jersey, and we traveled to New Jersey, and I used to go down as pit crew for him, and then we went out to California and did the races out there, and then we did Harley 115 anniversary as well. So kind of around the industry guys, we've been around and mixed in with some of those guys for a long time. I advertise down there. I've been out to the West Coast a couple of times. I go to those shows. It's been a couple of years since I've been able to get down there, but I used to do it, quite a lot, over the years. So, and as the years go on, people are involved in stuff, and they move up, and they go from being hanging around stuff, and they start becoming decision makers, and you have relationships. It's when you start pulling those guys in, right?
So in your life and the different ways that you've done things, have you been fortunate enough to go to Sturgis a few times and Daytona a few times and all those other kind of events?
Yeah, I mean, I actually I've never been to Sturgis and Daytona. I've been to Laconia. I've been out to Born Free. I've done a bunch of stuff in Ohio. Hit a few. I do the swap meets and things like that. Yeah, it's we do the other show. There's a great show in Montreal right now called Roll the Bones. It's similar in content, I'd say, to what I'm doing. They do a lot of vintage and custom vintage Harleys at that show as well. And I support that show. I usually try to sponsor that show, and they support my show, and they bring out bikes to my show.
Right on.
Yeah, so
Uh, how,
that's a great
how,
one.
how big do you think the vintage scene in Canada still is?
I mean, it's not like the U.S.
Right.
Um, but it's bigger, I think, than people think it is. And there's pockets of it everywhere. It's not that there's any one big, mecca of it, but there's small groups of guys that do the stuff all over the place. And the whole point of the show and having that is you kind of have a landing pad for all these guys to come in. That
So you
lightning,
can get them in one
you
place.
you have that lightning rod to kind of draw in all these small groups come in, and then they can, then they realize that they're not on their own because you do all this stuff, 4 or 5 of your buddies, that's great, but that times 300 or 400 groups of guys, then all of a
Yeah,
sudden
man.
you got a big show, right?
And then you're all into the same thing. You're all into
That's
the
it.
vintage motorcycle, right?
That's it. And because it's because of the nature of it, getting parts for some of these bikes, it's not impossible. We still dig a lot of stuff up, but you got to kind of meet people. You got to, you
Yeah.
know, you gotta have a network. It's hard to just kind of like, without knowing anyone or knowing anything, to go out there and just be able to find stuff. It's
And, and
nearly
my buddy
impossible.
here in London, he's like you. He trips through the states, so he's got American contacts too.
Yep. Yep.
Usually, when he wants to sell a bike, he just takes it with him down to Bike Week, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then he comes home without the bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
no,
getting hard.
see, and that's a hard part when you're, especially if you get into building one, and it's a pleasure to have something in your garage, and you got the radio on, and it's getting you out, it's decompressing you from whatever shitty day you had at work, right? There's a lot to it, with the whole motorcycle thing, and maybe you're out there by yourself, and you get to get inside your own head, and you fuck around with something for a few hours, and you go back in, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, it's it can be all encompassing sometimes. It's one of those things that you go out. In the winter, I don't get out into the garage as much as I want to. Um, it's also my garage is a disaster right now. I got too much crap in there. So come springtime when I do my big cleanup like I usually do, then I'll for the summer I live out there. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I hang. It becomes my living room, and I hang out there, and I get the music going, I get a TV going, whatever, and I mess around with stuff. People come over, they hang out, they have a beer. You just kind of being around the stuff
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun, right?
yeah. But contacts are very important in that world too. Like you say, you can't do it by yourself forever,
No,
sort of thing, right?
and you know what, doing it by yourself it's okay, but when you do it with other people, it's a lot more fun. You get to bounce
Yeah,
ideas off each other. You get to see what other people are doing. There's a lot of really interesting, creative people that get into this stuff, and you see stuff and you go, "Hold, I've never thought of it like that." You just get a different angle on it, and
yeah, yeah.
it really, that's how you kind of grow, right?
Especially when you're building your own chopper and you're starting with a nice stripped down hardtail frame.
Yeah.
Your imagination can take you anywhere.
Yep. Exactly.
Big crazy backrests and whatever you want to do. Crash bars, no crash bars. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, man. You can go. Yeah, you can go pretty crazy.
Yeah. I sometimes like them guys that they get all crazy with their welders and their little things and they put skulls everywhere or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they go interesting.
Yeah, I got some friends that go real. They do some really crazy, molding. I have a friend Haley. She's out. Well, she's up north, but she just did a gas tank recently, and it was she actually made molds, and she made like roses out of Bondo, and she has this whole molded rose gas tank where the roses are all off the tank. It's really something else.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So they're getting into sculptures now, man.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
I used to think it was cool with those old coffin tanks. I
Yep.
always liked those coffin tanks. And then ones where they kind of cut the rounded part out and they flip it so it's a dip.
Yep. Yeah, the old dish tanks. Yeah.
Yeah, those ones all look pretty good.
Yeah.
You lose a little capacity, I suppose, but
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of like, I mean, the kind of the traditional chopper stuff. You know, we do a lot of like Wassell tanks or King Sporty tanks or Frisco mounted Sporty tanks.
yeah, the peanut tank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Cut the bottoms out of them. Give you a little more fuel capacity. Cut the tunnels out. Move the gas cap. Move the petcock. All that stuff.
oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you can give it another half gallon or so.
Yeah, yeah. You get a few more drops in there.
You always used to get that one new guy and he'd run out of gas up north in between gas stations.
Well,
Damn
that's
it.
it, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the guys I ride with, I was trying to ride. When I first started hanging around, I was riding my panhead and it didn't have the gas. It didn't have the gas or the speed. So then I had a Softail that I owned years ago, and I bought it back and I put a big motor in. It was pretty good, but it's started to kind of rattle me apart pretty good. Doing the riding that we do. So I got that Street Glide. The Street Glide's been good for that style of riding. So I can get on that and I can, it'll go faster than I ever need to go and farther than I want to. So it is what it is.
I was surprised with that old Street Glide. It moved out pretty good. What the hell? I went as fast as I needed a motorcycle to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what the hell? I'm not in that big. I think I might be hitting that age where, riding around town and shifting up and shifting down every bloody red light doesn't impress me anymore. I'd rather get out of the city and go somewhere where you don't got to change gears for a while.
Yeah, and the cities are a lot more crowded now too. So it's, even going light to light. I mean, it's different now. People are trying to kill you everywhere you go. You gotta be.
It's dangerous now. It feels like they're coming for you, man.
It's more dangerous now than it was, even 10 years ago. So I like to get out and just kind of get away from everybody and go for a ride. And I got some spots that I like to go, and it's usually pretty tucked away. So
get on a 2-lane paved road.
Yeah, that's it.
Like you say, all of our bikes out motorcycles now. Put some good riding tunes on.
Yep.
Usually I roll it up and until my head clears, and then roll it on or wherever, right?
Yep.
As soon as your head's clear, mission accomplished.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, that's a good thing. No, I'm glad I got to meet you, Lee. I really am, and I will definitely make a trek up to the show this year.
Yeah, right on, man.
And if I get going with this calendar thing, I'll stay in contact with you, and we'll make sure at least the event gets on in one spot, and we'll talk about other things, whatever, right?
Yeah,
figure that shit out as we go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, brother. Was there any other nuggets?
No, I mean I think that's good. That's it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just don't want you to feel like you had some more shit you wanted to tell me.
No, man, it's all good. Okay. Good chat.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming. I thank everyone in the chat for coming. It's a pleasure. And I'll actually be back tomorrow doing another one because today was a special event. All right, Lee, I want to thank you again for coming on my channel, brother. It, maybe we'll get the word out about your show. If you help with a couple people, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, man. I appreciate being able to talk about it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Okay. And I'll stay in touch with you through the summer.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks, bro.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.